crisp, clear days of autumn bring with them great colors in the landscape. We have some trees and shrubs that color up early, among them the green ash, the white ash, burning bushes, of course the sumacs in all the ditches and in country landscapes. We even have some shrubs like witch hazel that turn fall color and bloom. One of the things you really need to look at, however, is whether those trees and shrubs are turning fall color because of the fall or because they are actually going into early signs of drought stress because we really haven't had much rain for the last couple months. The rapidity with which plants dry out is going to depend an awful lot on a couple of things. First of all, the composition of the soil itself. Is it sandy, well drained? Is it a heavy clay? Has it been well amended with compost? That's one item. The second is, of course, going to be the health of the plant itself, its root system, and especially for fall planted plants that may have gone in a little bit late, a little bit small, maybe they were scratch and dent from one of the nurseries. What sort of a root system do they already have that's established? You'll see in the clay soils in particular, the cracks begin to develop. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have a moisture deficit in the lower levels of that soil. So you really need to stick a screwdriver down there or a stick or your finger and figure out how far down has the soil dried out. It's awfully hard to re-wet a clay soil once it begins to crack. That includes against your house and against the sidewalk. Then you also look at the signs of drought stress for plants, and that would be wilting, depending again on the location and the species. Wilting and the failure to then thrive or revive over the evening hours. Take a look at that root ball. We have a plant in this particular location that was planted a couple weeks ago. The root ball is small. It has not reestablished roots into the surrounding soil, and it's in a pretty severe need of a drink right now. It's really important to water plants deeply in the fall. That usually means that a lawn irrigation system is just not going to do the trick, and that is particularly true for plants that were installed in the fall. What you want to look at is the composition of the root ball itself. It's almost always different than the surrounding soil. People think they can water just the root ball, and what happens is the root ball might dry out, the surrounding soil might be wet. Ultimately, what happens is the tree or the shrub or the plant dries out anyway, because you simply don't have that good interface between the ball of the plant and the surrounding soil. You also want to make sure you keep that moisture around the plant. If you flood, all the water is going to end up down the hill. Ideally, we use a drip system or a very slow trickle. Apply that water not only to the immediate area, but soak as much of the surrounding landscape as possible. And you can even see in this location where the ball itself is fairly wet, although drying out. Surrounding soil is wet, but only 3 or 4 feet away that soil is dry. So water very deeply, very slowly. Make sure you take those plants well into the winter months well watered.